Well, I have a couple of things. First of all, there is one topic to blitz through just because we had it pulled up for so long now. So, invisibility in Naruto makes no sense since you mentioned Mu's jutsu earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what you were looking
the
for.
dustless bewildering. So, got this comment here. We'll go through this. So, and I have my thoughts on this. I'm sure you'll have your thoughts on this, but whether we agree or disagree or both, and there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot to explain here. It's going to be a fun conversation either way. So the dust, so by the way, comment for 4 days ago from Capnigden Cat. Shout out them. I like the profile picture, by the way.
Cat.
Yeah. W Cap and Cat. The dustless bewildering cover, which is Mu's jutsu, is stated to allow the user to, and this is a clarification, since we were not saying this in there, to manipulate water droplets to evade light, further clarifying that it bends light away similar to an optical illusion, which was the part that we were saying, that it's a jutsu to bend the light, not the... I don't remember what we were saying, honestly. I'm just taking this comment for the benefit of the doubt and saying this is what we were saying, but I don't think this is what we're actually saying.
I don't know what's in the clip either.
Either way. So the light never actually touches Mu, it hits the water, and through the manipulation of the water, and by proxy, the light, it gives the illusion as if he isn't there. It's effectively light manipulation via water. What do you think
Minus
about
maybe
that?
saying that last sentence, I completely agree. That is my understanding of the jutsu.
I
don't know what I said in this clip.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we could probably just leave the clip real quick.
Is this agreeing or disagreeing with us? I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the.
Let's find out.
What we were saying about the invisibility.
The barrier also allows the user to sense anyone who enters it. The captain.
Do you think? Okay, random. Do you think the Byakugan could have seen?
For all I know, we were actually talking about the stone ninja's invisibility. That makes no sense.
Oh,
which is a different jutsu.
Am I sharing my sound?
I didn't hear anything. So
okay. Let me just do it like this. Here you
go. Well, because he's just refracting the light rays around him.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where we start talking about it.
Random. Do you think the Byakugan could have seen Mu when he's invisible? Because he's just refracting the light rays around him. But would that count for the Byakugan?
Yeah, he should see his chakra.
Oh, I thought that was you talking. So I paused it.
Well, yeah, I know. No, they should still see it, because I know he has anti-sensing abilities where he erases chakra signature, but that's different from what the Byakugan sees. So
I still think he shouldn't be able to fly when he's doing that, but that's besides the point.
Okay, so I think at the very least, if we're just taking it based on the first 30 seconds, we were just saying refracting the light because we already know how the jutsu works. This is context that we're just leaving out because we've talked about this before a couple times. Yeah, so that's, I guess, for that, to be fair. So getting to the comment, though. So yes, I agree this is how it works. There is caveat, though, because I responded to him, actually. Reply. And I said, we definitely should have got a template or something to visually show what is happening. LOL. Because the problem is, I still think this makes no sense as it is. Because yes, he's refracting the light rays around him so the light doesn't hit him or whatever. It's scattering the water droplets. So my problem is this. So we have Mu here, okay? We're just going to draw a quick little Mu.
I don't see what you're drawing.
Oh, you're right, because I'm sharing the tab so that you could hear that audio. Okay, let me go back to sharing the full screen. Okay, so we have a Mu here. We're just going to draw a Mu real quick. We'll even draw the Band-Aid so you know it's Mu. So unnecessary, but
yeah. Can't decide if he looks like a marshmallow or a ghost.
You got Mu here, okay? So it's like how it's not. Yeah, it's Mu, okay? Very, very Mu-like. There you go. Okay, so you have Mu here.
Looks like a bank robber now.
And you're gonna take the water droplets that are just all over. That are, by the way, they should already be, like, refracting the light or whatever in their own way. And he's just gonna, like, take all these and just, like, move them over to himself or whatever. And it's gonna, like, hyper-condense the water droplets. Without actually showing the water droplets, by the way. Like, you can't see the water, so it's still, like, invisible to the naked eye at the very least. But it's gonna be more condensed water droplets in a way to manipulate it so all the light around Mu refracts around him. So my problem is, let's just say this is like a first-person POV shot, so we are looking directly at Mu. So Mu's making like a bubble around himself, right? To where if we're looking at him, our vision of the light is going this way, and then it's gonna like go this way, and probably same for this side. It's gonna do like that. So we're not actually seeing him. In this case, when we look at Mu, we should be seeing. Let's just say like let's just say this is the ground. We should be, when we look directly at Mu, our vision doesn't just stop. Like, we shouldn't be able to see through him. We would be seeing the mountain over here. Right?
It depends. Well, that implies it's almost like a mirror, and I don't know that's how the light refraction thing works.
Well, the problem is, like, where does the vision go? Because it's looking straight through. At least every time we've seen it.
I don't know to answer that. I'm not an expert on light reflection, but the way you're drawing it, which I understand, I think is more like if he was surrounded by mirrors versus this light reflection thing. I don't think they're the same.
Yeah,
so
well,
I don't know how it works. I just think it's different.
This is why I said we needed a diagram, probably a circle, because I didn't want to respond saying that this still makes no sense, but this still makes no sense, which is why I was saying we needed a template to visually show what was happening, because then Kishimoto himself would realize, making the template, this makes no sense.
I think two things.
Yeah.
One, well, actually three things. One, I think when Kishimoto wrote this in the manga, just based off what's stated in the manga and anime, he just wrote, Mu has an invisibility jutsu, left out all the details. He later retroactively, or even actually his databook team, because according to Sage, it's written by different people, by the second and third or whatever, they might have just come up with how this jutsu is going to work, and Kishimoto said, yeah, that's a cool idea, and just approved it. I don't think Kishimoto in the manga wrote how this worked. He doesn't explain it. It's just, it's there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Second thing I want to say, it would have been, assuming that Kishimoto had it all figured out when he wrote it in the manga, it would have been at the bare bones minimum, the minimum. It would have been nice if we simply saw a Mu that was visible, then make a hand sign, a bunch of water bubbles start to collect around him, kind of like the Tail Beast bombs, or like Udakata's bubble jutsu. You just see them condense around him, they like mold to his body, and then he like shimmers away and he's invisible. That just would have been cool to see. Just him doing the jutsu. And third, this is a water style jutsu. Why the hell doesn't the second Mizukage have this jutsu? Why is it Mu, who had the earth, the stone village guy, has this jutsu, but not the freaking mist village, the water style extract? That should have been the second Mizukage's jutsu. His whole thing is these optical illusions with the clamps and stuff. Wouldn't it make a lot of sense if he could also make himself invisible? Like when he has his steam imp running around, he goes invisible and backstabs you? Like,
yes, bro.
Duh!
It's like a cool move behind the move, kind of ninja tactical optical illusion. Like, that's basically Genjutsu. That's so cool as a ninjutsu strategy.
It makes perfect sense with Gengetsu's arsenal. It doesn't make that much sense with Mu's arsenal because his particle style isn't invisible. It just gives away where he is anyway. Like, yeah, you don't know where he's flying around to when he flies around, but like, the moment he does the jutsu, you can see it again. Whereas with Gengetsu, now again, if Mu was doing like taijutsu while invisible, it would be one thing. Bro doesn't do that. Now, I will admit, having an invisible guy who flies around is really cool. I just think, technically speaking, it should have gone to Gengetsu. The real problem with that is that Gengetsu would just be unstoppably too OP with his hacks. And frankly, that's kind of true for Mu too. I don't understand how Gengetsu... I think Gengetsu and Mu just both were just going back and forth with their invisibility, mirage nonsense. They just didn't know where each other were. They just died of starvation. Like,
so
I don't
understand
how they got each other.
Yeah, so Kamui, in the Civil War, I heard a story when I was like in 5th grade or whatever, learning Civil War stuff. The Anaconda River Plan and all the other nonsense. So the Civil War is when both the North and the South first developed like metal defense, and so they both built like a metal boat. And the first battle that used a metal boat was both sides had a metal boat, and they were just shooting cannonballs at each other for 3 days, doing absolutely nothing until they both just gave up and went home.
Yeah, that's how I feel like Mu and Gegetsu is if they just didn't give up and they just fought until they died.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot of other side factors to this jutsu that don't make sense. A lot of world, but it still just optically just doesn't make sense. Like, I just did like the first person view. Now let's just do this as a diagram, how it would actually be shown in universe or whatever. So let's just say like this. It's like the blue diagrams. You know how Kishimoto loves his blue diagrams. Yeah. So here we got Naruto. This is going to be the Naruto diagram. The Chibi Naruto. And here we got the Chibi Mu. So he's looking at him from the side view. Again, how does this work? So is it that the light is bending around Mu, over him, under him? Is that it's all going the same direction? Like if he looks at his feet, is it still going to go over his head or something?
I mean, part of the problem is like, depending on where you're looking, if it's just like going, I don't know if this is how it works, but if it's kind of like, okay, so you know how like the rotation, it like spins, right? And we said that like, if you throw a shuriken, it might spin it to the left a little bit.
Yeah, it could be bending around him like this.
Yeah, so if you're seeing around him in an open area desert, I can understand why it just looks like nothing in that context. The issue would be if there was a bunch of leaves or trees and stuff, maybe then you would kind of see, it would still be hard to tell, obviously, but maybe then you could kind of see where he is based off those cues. But in the case of the open desert, you're just not going to see anything. So that might be like the prime location for this jutsu.
That's interesting.
If that's how that works.
Yeah, only problem is they obviously never went into that at all, but it'd be like this to where I'm trying to add a sense of depth here.
Minimal dialogue, just say what the jutsu is. That's like, oh, wow, that's cool, and that's it.
Exactly. The only problem, there's a couple problems with this as well. Still. The first problem is that Mu moves around. Do you see how that's a problem immediately?
You don't think so? Well, it depends on whether or not he's actually in a bubble or if it just like it's the paper mache and it just conforms to his body. Because that's how I thought it was.
It's weird. I don't know.
I think it's like he's wearing a suit of water bubbles.
But if he's wearing a suit, you should be able to see the water.
It's invisible water. I don't know.
That's not. Okay, so Kamui. So how refracting light rays work? This was explained to me by my 7th grade science teacher. Shout out Mr. Wagner. So he went like spear fishing, and in order to spearfish, in order to accurately hit the target, what he was doing is he was aiming at the middle of the fish. What he didn't realize is because the water was bending the light, he wasn't actually aiming at the middle of the fish, even though that's what he thought he was, because that's what it looked like he was. Where he was actually aiming the whole time was behind the fish. In order to hit the fish in the middle, he had to start aiming where the fish's head was. And once he did that, it looks like the stick is going to hit the head, but in reality, it hits the middle.
Yeah.
But like, you still see the fish.
Well, I think that's because it's not like a perfect 360 wrapped around your body.
But the 360 wrapped around your body still doesn't work. Because how this would be with the fish example is Naruto would look straight at Mu, and then he's actually looking at like his feet or whatever. So then if he looked at where Mu's head is, then like this, then he'd be looking at the middle of his body. Or if he looked like above his head, he'd be looking at his head. That's how this would work.
Things.
Yeah.
2 things. One, I think we actually discussed that as a jutsu concept to where you would just
we did.
His hands in one location, like actually 2 feet to the left, which would have been really cool.
We were discussing this, I think, for Shizune versus Kabuto. Shizune would be boxing like an invisible person, and Kabuto, like 10 feet to the left, would be reacting to the hits. I thought that was a really cool concept.
Yes, yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so this would be that basically. I think what Kishimoto's doing here, or at least the databook team, is taking this concept and just applying it in a way that doesn't actually work in real life.
Yeah.
Because I think the key is the direction of the light source. And I think in universe, they're applying a 360-degree light source, which doesn't actually make sense.
Exactly.
But I think that's what they're doing. So
because I was also, yeah,
exactly.
I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my second thing. Well, what about from other angles? How would this work as well? Like, if you have a Naruto clone looking at him from this way, does it reverse the light to where it's actually looking up now because it's like a mirror flipped, or is it still looking the same direction of the weirdness of the 180 flip of it's now down? I don't know how that would work either. Or if the clone is on top, which direction it just doesn't make sense for it to reflect from every angle. This would be a cool explanation. The weakness to the jutsu, similar to the Byakugan's 359-degree vision or whatever. Yeah, there should be one angle to where you can see him, or at least a back angle or something. He's only reflecting, like, it should be more like a shield than a full 360 bubble.
What I was gonna say is it could have been cool if like Mu was actively adjusting it based off where you are, so you can never see him. Obviously the workaround would be shadow clones. One of the clones will see it while the original doesn't, or vice versa.
And because he's moving around when he's flying, that's why it doesn't make sense as well. Because for him to stay invisible as he is moving, he needs to, like, preemptively be making the path in front of him scattered in light. Rather than where he is, where he's going to be, he needs to start scattering the light through manipulating the water particles. And then
which is why I think they're just applying a 360 light ray, which doesn't actually make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then where he currently is, he's probably unmanipulating it, de-scattering towards just back to normal. Because otherwise, I would imagine it would look weird. It might not, but, like, I'm assuming Mu can use this jutsu at a range, not just on himself, but, like, he can make a boulder 10 feet in front of him, invisible, quote-unquote, if he wanted to, from another person's perspective. I'm assuming.
I think he should be able to, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
So, there's one more factor here that just absolutely makes no sense at all, still. When Mu does his invisibility, every time he does it, he goes to the side. Do you know what I'm talking about? He does like a little duck angle to the side as if he's like using Kamui with Obito. He's doing the hand thing to like make himself go away.
Yeah, he kind of does like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Why?
He just does this movement. That could be him like getting into the position with the light rays or something.
But why is it not just where he already is? I don't know. It's weird. Like, also, the fact that it isn't an instantaneous thing, similar to Uroshiki's teleportation, it's like he's fading, so it's more like he's translucent. It's like he's taking the opacity and turning it down. And it's like a wave thing. It's not throughout his whole body. It's like a shift, like a wave. Like it just goes through him. Like you see his left half turn, then his right half. Exactly, yes. Yeah. So I will say some of that doesn't work.
Like, for example, the movement to the side thing is probably anime only. I doubt Kishimoto was drawing that visually. The translucent transition, I could see that being in the manga for sure, just because that would look cool. But it also could be anime only. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do in the manga, but it could be there. With all this being said,